A $54 million cash injection into the courts over 4 years is expected to cut wait times for criminal and family cases. Justice Minister Andrew Little says the backlog means some people are waiting up to 2 years for their day in court, and that's not fair on anyone. The money will fund 10 new district court judges and 2 youth court judges, and a law change will allow a further 10 judges to be funded into the future if needed. Mr Little says we currently have about 160 judges, but there is a substantial backlog of cases waiting to be heard.
If you're wanting a trial in the district court, you're waiting well over a year. But even just waiting to enter a plea and the sentencing, it'll be, you can wait 8 and 9, 10 months for that to happen. That shouldn't happen, particularly if you're prepared to plead guilty and get it disposed of. In the family court, the average waiting times in the family court are now pretty much approaching a year. But I know of cases where families, and particularly where children are involved, are waiting more than 2 years to get cases sorted out, and that just should not be happening where children are concerned.
Yeah, so is that justice? If you're waiting, say, for the criminal court up to a year, is that a fair justice system?
Well, the old adage is justice delayed is justice denied. And if you've got a trial, you've got witnesses, people's memories fade over a period of time. I'm sure everybody takes notes and please take statements and all that sort of stuff. But even with the best will in the world, if you're waiting, 18 months or more before you give your evidence, that can have a serious effect on a trial. But also, if somebody who is accused, and if they're wanting to defend it, they're entitled to the presumption of innocence till proven guilty. They have that hanging over them all that time. That's not a healthy thing either.
So what's your goal? If that's the wait times now, what should it be?
Look, that's a difficult question to answer. What I do expect to see is a material improvement in waiting times in courts. And with additional judges, that means, particularly you've got cases where people are being remanded in custody because the law directs that. But with a little bit of work and getting things sorted out, actually, people who are accused can come out of custody and be in the community, even if on bail, on electronic bail or under some sort of supervision. That's better for everybody if that can happen, if they can be put in the community safely. But we just, the time it takes to get even those sorts of cases to court are far too long, and people are spending too long in custody before they've even been convicted.
So you say you want a material improvement. Can you be more specific? What would a material improvement be?
Well, I want to see those waiting times come down. I want to know. So in terms of a trial on a criminal matter in the district court, if we're not seriously reducing that, getting that down to something even approaching a year within a couple of 3 years' time, that's going to be serious. For the family court, we've got to get those cases involving children, care of children cases, sorted out in a matter of months, not years. Families simply should not have to be waiting that long.
So whereabouts are these judges? Because I do know that the family court has a significant backlog, which you've acknowledged. So of these judges, where exactly are they going to go? Their days are going to be spent in what courts?
Well, that's a matter for the Chief District Court Judge, and she's been working with the Ministry of Justice and the Attorney General. They've developed a thing called the Judicial Resourcing Model, so they have a good idea about where the peak demand is, where the real serious backlogs are. So,
but is it your expectation?
Where they go.
Understood, Minister. But is it your expectation that a significant amount of that new resource may be directed into the family court?
Well, the Chief District Court Judge already reallocated some judges to the family court last year to deal with that. I'd be surprised if some of this new judge time doesn't go to the family court as well. But equally, there's a big backlog in the criminal jurisdiction, and that has to be dealt with as well. But I trust the Chief District Court Judge to work with her colleagues to make sure that she allocates those things correctly.
Do you know how many cases in criminal court are backed up?
I couldn't give you a number of cases. I mean, the district court is it's the engine room of our justice system. They are dealing with, every day courts are dealing with issues. There's over 200,000 cases a year. So, they're not disposing of cases every day, but there's call-overs, there's judicial, there's judge trials, there's all that sort of stuff to get things sorted out, to bring things on for a hearing. All of that adds up in judge time, and the more we can do to alleviate that and get judges actually focused on hearing evidence, making decisions, and putting people at their ease, getting a determination, then that's what we need to be doing.
How's it got so bad?
I think, look, just over time, it's just the way things have gone. I think more people are pleading not guilty pretty early on. Some people are waiting a long time before they even enter a plea. That means judges are going to still keep up with particular defendants in particular cases to make sure the case is on track. Things get delayed. I mean, getting witnesses and expert witnesses lined up, all these things have got to take time. It's a big production to bring a matter on for trial. So those things all add up.
Minister, the Law Society said in a recent article that there is a greater portion of more serious offences coming before the court, and that is a large part of the backlog. Do you agree with that?
I think what's happening is, certainly there are more defendants facing more serious charges. Whether they are the same charges they face when they finally front up to court is another thing, because there is scope as part of the judicial supervision of criminal matters for judges to give sentence indications, and sometimes that can persuade a defendant to change a plea of not guilty to guilty. Sometimes that results in a change of charge. It also then results in a defendant changing their plea. So all those things happen in that sort of process.
So how much of the backlog is due to still a hangover from the industrial action at the end of last year?
Look, there's no question that had an effect, and that did push things out. As I understand it, the impact of the industrial action will pretty much have flowed through. The courts are running as smoothly as they were before the industrial action, and cases and matters are being brought on in accordance with the schedule that they would have expected to have followed. Of course, there may be some cases that you could say, that might have been heard earlier but for the industrial action. But the bulk of the delays caused by that industrial action have been worked through.
Just while I've got you here, Minister, could you give us an update on Pike River? Where are things at there?
Yeah, the work is continuing. They're getting things ready to get down to the 170-metre mark. There's another seal, a much different seal to the one at the 30-metre mark. I'm hoping to be down there in a couple of weeks' time to have a look. But once they get to that 170-metre mark, they've got to sort out that seal there. Then they'll be into the rest of the drift and then on to that full, we're covering the full 2.3 kilometres. But work is progressing nicely.
Have they given you an indication, a time frame, where they anticipate they will start pushing through that 170-metre seal?
Not precisely, but I'm going down there in a couple of weeks' time. I would certainly hope that they're substantially at that point by then. There's quite a bit of work to do, even just between the 30-metre mark and the 170-metre mark, to prepare the ground on the drift so that they can move equipment and gear up and down there. So there's still quite a bit of work to do, but look, I'll gauge it for myself personally in a couple of weeks' time.
And that's Justice Minister Andrew Little, who's also the Minister responsible for the Pike River re-entry.